Hi guys, I'm Yevhenko from Ukraine and I have a special guest, Taya from Ukraine. She is also a blogger. She one of the most popular blogger who talks about Ukraine for foreigners. Her channel is in English. So maybe you can tell about your channel, about yourself, what are you talking about on your channel?
Basically, I talk about everything that you need to know about Ukraine. Of course, girls, language, sometimes real estate, sometimes I make really funny language videos, so that really depends on my mood. But my main job now, I work with tourists, so I'm pretty experienced about that, and I meet a lot of foreigners every day, so that is what is my current lifestyle.
So you can watch link to her channel in the description. And first question about, let's talk about foreigners, because our channel is about foreigners. So why do you think they come to Ukraine? Just to, because it's a cheap country, or
Exactly.
yes, one of the reason, or if it's to meet Ukrainian women, what is the main goal of tourists who come?
Of course, that's a really personal question. Some people come here just to explore new countries for themselves, but some do come for women only, and sightseeing is just not the priority. So that's a really personal, and most of my tourists they want to do both. And of course, it's a very cheap destination comparing to other Western world cities and countries. Yeah.
So if they come for women, so do they come for one night stand or to long relationship to get married?
Maybe because I don't really talk about one night stand on my channel. That's why men rarely ask me. But sometimes they do, and they ask me like, Taya, find me, for example, a girl for having fun for one night. And I'm pretty serious girl, so I don't have a lot of experience or my friends who are really enjoying that, but that can happen. And if you go, for example, to the club, you can, of course, no doubtly, as in any other country, you can find a woman for one night stand. But mostly, I think girls want serious relationships, especially if they are more than 25 years old, for example. Yeah, as we mentioned on other video that we have some kind of pressure, social pressure to get married. So I think a lot of girls around 30 are not interested into another random man in their life. Mostly in serious
So, but it's possible to go to a nightclub or maybe to meet. What about meeting women on the street to try to strike up a conversation?
Some men are very interesting. Some men are like, I don't need marriage agency. I will just go and find random woman on the street. But even if I talk with foreigners like every day, I'm used to that. If any random guy will come to me at the street, I will be creeped out like, hi, how are you? Do you want to come with me and have lunch? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, no, I will not. And plus, you don't know if she knows English. It would be very weird if you come to her saying hello. She says hi because everyone's here know basic English. And then what? You type in Google Translator. I mean, that can happen if you already know a person a little bit. Yeah. So I think that's why marriage agencies are popular, because you know that this girl will be interested in meeting a foreign guy, and plus people are open, having language barrier in relationships.
What about other online apps for meeting, like Tinder? Is it worth trying or still it's hard?
Stories that my foreigners tell me, even on Tinder there are scam girls. They're not
Of course,
stupid.
of course.
But I will say that it's worth to try, and I think every person is different. I think that's my answer for any question. It really depends on person. But that is true, because everyone is looking for love, and there are a lot of ways to find your destiny. So why not? You can try and see how it goes.
Next question is about like trend. So in the Western country there is a trend of feminism or women want to be independent. I've heard that in Spain almost half of the women think that they are feminists. So it's not, I think, do you think it's popular in Ukraine, or if there is maybe among maybe younger girls who are like 20 years old, is it popular? It's still it's not popular at all in Ukraine.
Yeah. First of all, I want to clarify that we are talking about classical feminism, because a lot of American men on my comments are complaining American women are so horrible. They are, they became pretty terrible. They don't let themselves to take care of them or something like
that's
this.
what I'm talking, like to be independent.
Sometimes it's really funny to hear such stories about Western women. I think it is crazy, but I don't think in Ukraine it's pretty popular right now. As you mentioned, young generation, they are more independent, but they are not that crazy, and they will not say, oh, if you are calling me a woman, then you offended me. That will not happen. I think it's opposite. Ukrainian women, as I say, want to feel themselves as a woman, and you need to point them every time you are with her.
So it's not like I think the Ukrainian women try to find a balance. So because they don't live like in the last centuries, like at the kitchen, right? They have careers and all of this, yet they want to be taken care of or something like.
Yeah, they will not. Ukrainian women will not say, okay, we share. I don't know, you live together in an apartment, we share, I pay for you, I pay for myself in a restaurant. This will not happen, and Ukrainian women will even push you to be stronger, and she will want to feel weaker, I think.
So what about paying? So, like, I think it's an interesting question from anybody. So in Ukraine, if you ask a woman on a date, you are supposed to pay. It's like 100% true.
Yes, 100%.
So if a guy, like, because I even know some foreigners who didn't know about this, and they had some like
I understand.
misunderstanding.
Yeah, well, you need to pay because Ukrainian women think that if you don't pay, then you are not a good man at all. You are actually, she will not even think to message you first. Maybe she will reply if you message her first, like without interest, but she will not consider you for serious relationships in
So it's a
future.
problem, like, because there is a code in Ukraine that if, like, even if for a sign, it's a sign for a man, if she asks to pay for herself, it is probably because she is not interested in me, right? If she says, okay, let's share. So
yeah, if she pays for herself, meaning you are not on a date, meaning you are just friends or you have something.
so it's a sign for
business.
you that you are not on a date sometimes.
Yes, I think.
But not always, maybe.
Not, of course, not always, but I think in Ukraine, even younger generation, like they are not. They will not offer, I'm paying for myself. No, you need to treat a lady. You need to be like a classical gentleman. Like
So-
I hear it like classical gentleman. I don't know, but it's just like this old school style of relationships. Yeah, and
What about next? Okay, I agree with about courtship. In the beginning, he should be a gentleman.
Yeah.
And what about when she start dating? They have serious relationship. They are married. Do still the man should take care of her all the time?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned before, there's a pressure for girls to get married. Maybe there's a pressure for men being a gentleman. I just had it in my mind. But even if you are in serious relationships, I think you will need to do even more things.
Even more. Okay.
Because especially if you are married, it doesn't mean that you need to do everything apart. Like you need to still, I think, okay, let's do like this way. I think when you take care of her at the beginning, then she kind of predict what you will be like when you are get already
yeah.
engaged or having kids, you know, in the future. So I think women think in this way. Especially, I always mention that in Ukraine, girls, a lot of women stay on maternity leave around
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
That's a very long period. And in Western world, women are like, give birth and after 1 month I'm go to job, you know, have nanny or some
Yeah.
grandma.
Kindergarten.
Yes, or kindergarten. But here, a lot of women still, you know, stay at home. So I think they need to understand if you're gonna support her during that time as well, especially if you're going to have more than one kid.
Do you think we should loosen this criteria? Maybe they shouldn't be so strict about women is this way and men are this way. Maybe it shouldn't be so strict, in your opinion.
Of course, to be happy, you need just to find a person who think the same way as
yeah,
you.
exactly.
But you know, if there was no rules,
At
social
all?
rules, yeah, it would be maybe, I don't know, hard to predict, and you need to ask on the first date serious questions like, what do you think, what kind of family do you want, or how do you see relationships?
But it might scare some people if we are talking
but
about.
But usually, you know, as everyone has the same rules, maybe you can kind of predict what is the person like.
So you need to know his or her attitude, mentality, because to make sure that you think the same way.
Yeah, we're living in this modern world where all the, how to say, rules, yeah, like you said, women should do this way, men should do, they're all mixed, and I agree with them. You can't just be a housewife and not having at least a hobby that brings you a lot of happiness, not even money, you know. So I think men should also take care of children sometimes. Women should also work, of course, and support herself and spend money on herself and on kids. So there are no strict rules like what you have to do and what women has to do. There should be a mutual, of course, support as well.
Okay. The next question is about ethnicity, diversity. So, what about? I made a lot of videos asking about would you marry a black guy and a Muslim and Indian, foreigner, American, everything you can watch. So, what do you think? Are Ukrainian women okay with dating a foreigner, a black guy, or Muslim?
Well, I mean, the advertisement. Well, I do have a dating agency, and of course, I ask my women about their preferences, and I can see not all women are ready to marry with black guy, Indian guy, or Muslim guy, because firstly, religion and is different, and secondly, the mental mind is different, and. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anyone, but a lot of our women think that those kind of guys are very creepy. And well, this partially, it is partially true because when you, for example, have Instagram and you post a nice picture of you, 100% some Turkish guy will find you and follow you, you know. So I think you need to be more
from Middle East, right?
Yeah, Middle Eastern, this kind of guys, and they are very addictive about Ukrainian, Russian girls, and they are not very tolerant, and they are not very nice.
I think they are using very primitive lines. Hello, sweetie,
exactly,
and
very
it doesn't
primitive.
work.
I want to marry you. I was having fun with some guy. He's from India. He said, I want to marry you. I'm like, okay, but why? And he said, you're beautiful, that's enough to marriage. I'm like, yeah, thank you, of course, but of course, I don't know you and I will marry you. I mean, that's very weird and stupid to write that.
Yeah, it's interesting that here we think that Ukrainians think that we were different from Europeans and Americans, but I think we are not that different comparing to Middle East Indians. They are
Yeah.
really different. They have different way of approaching women.
Yeah.
Completely. They
Even
don't
though-
understand like
Even
basic
though
concepts.
a good style is that a lot of our women can be melted because Arabic Middle Eastern men, they know how to approach women. Not on the internet, in real life they are very gentlemen.
Mhm,
They and some girls like Turkish men. They do. But I mean, it really depends. Some women think no Turkish men. Some girls like, well, yeah, they are so nice and handsome, and they know how to treat lady. But we hear a lot of scary stories when Middle Eastern man, for example, offends or even beat a girl, or he kidnap kids or something like this.
Yeah, it's a problem when it's marriage between different countries, and if she lives in Turkey, maybe she doesn't have all the rights, and so she
Yeah,
is a weaker position.
about rights. Women in that countries, we know that women in that countries is not treated as a human. She's more like just addition on the kitchen, just a wife. And we hear also but stuff like men can find a lover, and they're not very how to say that in English, they're not very забыла слово верные.
Faithful.
They're not very faithful, and they can have fun with other girls. So these are the worst stereotypes that we hear, and I think that can scare some women.
Yeah, I think it should depend on the person. I think
Exactly.
there are like
I think so.
there are amazing Turkish people, and like
Of course, absolutely.
and
yeah.
especially in my opinion, if I think for me it's important if somebody is a different race, ethnicity, but he was raised in a Western society, so he is completely different. Not always, but very often he can be of any race, any ethnicity, but he was raised in France or America, and he thinks like French people and Americans. So what do you think about this?
You need to explain that to some women because
They don't understand it.
Yeah, this is something that we are not used to being international. Because when I hear such stories like you are born in one country, lived in another, studied in a third country, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. But usually people in Ukraine stay in Ukraine and they live with Ukrainians, they, I don't know, die with Ukrainians, so they don't really understand about that. I think people in Ukraine should educate themselves more.
Okay, let's talk about age gap. So what is the maximum age gap? Like 10 years or 20 years?
Okay, in my personal opinion, 15 years, that's super maximum that can be between people, because if it's more, first of all, the appearance is different and you will look like father and daughter, and secondly, you are from different generations, and your man will be more experienced, and if he's not bothered that you are a bit silly, or I don't know how to say, if you are just beautiful and if it's enough for him and you are happy with him, of course no one should care what's your age difference, but yeah, being realistic, that don't try to look for a 20 years old girl if you are a 50 years old man.
So for a 50 years old man, what is normal?
50?
Yeah, if he is 50, and what
Well,
like
it depends on
30
his look as well, I think. Well, 30 and more, let's say like this, because for example, if you're 20 and the age gap is 15 and he's 35, that's a lot. But if you're 30 and he's 50 and you have 20 years old difference, I mean, the older you get, the less you feel this age gap. You understand what I mean?
The less it's important.
Yeah, because you understood, like if you're 18, then
of
you're
course,
35,
it's
a bit too much.
Okay, so what about maybe if a man is older? No, a girl is older. Is it possible, or
It is possible, but not much. I
very
think.
rarely?
Very rarely it can happen, and because it's a very normal wish that a girl wants an older and higher man, you know. So that's not very typical if there's a couple, especially international couple in those marriage agencies. Yeah, usually girls will look for an older man, not younger.
Okay, maybe you can give us a final advice for foreigners who want to meet Ukrainian women.
Yeah, my last advice, I always say, be very realistic about yourself. Educate yourself about culture, about customs before you come and date girls. Also, I want to say that you need to take care of yourself, and because Ukrainian girls do that, so it doesn't mean that you need to look like a total grandpa and you can get any girl if you're rich or something. And yeah, and consider that wedding is a big deal in Ukraine also. So Ukrainian girl will not wait 5 years until you propose her.
It should be like half a year or something.
I think 3 years, and then in average woman would say, where is my ring? You know.
Okay, thanks for watching. We made a different video with Taya on her channel. So if you want to continue watching our conversation, go to her channel. It's in the description box. And thanks for watching. See you in the next episode.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.